At the very beginning, we see an army truck driving through a beautiful sunset, heading straight into what looks like a military camp. From the truck steps out our main character, Victor Vance, a disciplined soldier, someone who's far from the world of crime. But that's about to change. Victor soon meets Sergeant Jerry Martinez. At first, Jerry tells him to relax, not to be so formal, and even asks him to just call him Jerry instead of Sergeant. Jerry starts asking questions. Why did Vic sign up? Vic explains that he has responsibilities. He needs to pay bills and take care of his family. One of his brothers is sick with asthma, and other, well, he's dealing with his own kinds of problems. Jerry then asks him a simple question: do you want to be rich? Vic says no. He explained that his father came from the Dominican Republic and he didn't really have many opportunity. He just want to do the right thing. Then Vic asks Jerry the same question: why did he join? Jerry casually replies, for the money obviously. That's when things starts to shift. Jerry tells Vic to relax, sit down, and mentions that there are plenty of opportunity to make money. Easy money. We get suspicious. He says he doesn't want any trouble, but Jerry reassures him nobody wants trouble. Everybody just wants to get rich and live easy. He starts hinting at some side work. Vic immediately refuses. He stands up and says, this isn't for me. But Jerry keeps pushing. He says there's no risk, it's just a small favor. Vic questions him, if there's no risk then why me? Jerry smirks and says it's because Vic is new, and more importantly, he's off duty for a couple of days. Then comes the task. Take Jerry's bike, head to airport, pick up package, simple. After some hesitation, Vic agrees just this once. And with that, we begin our first mission. Vic takes bike and rides to airport where he meets the man in blue suit. They both get into a small boat to complete the deal. The man casually mentioned that his cut will be bigger next time. But before anything else happens, they are suddenly ambushed. Men in black suits speed toward them on boats, opening fire. Vic fights back, but it's not enough. The boat is destroyed. With no other choice, Vic dives into water and swims for his life, barely making it back to shore. We don't really know what happens to the other guy. He's gone. Vic returns to military camp, back to his barrack. This is where you can save your game. And just like that, mission is complete. And this is only the beginning of Victor Vance's story. Mission 2. Here you can see Sergeant Jerry at his office on the phone. Jerry on phone says, yeah, we'll figure it out. Just give me some time. Vic walks in. Jerry startled. Jerry on phone, I'll call you later. Hangs up quickly. Vic says, you gotta get rid of drugs. Jerry a little bit irritated. I'm not into drugs. Vic tried to speak again, but Jerry cuts him off. Jerry says, chill out, you're getting on my nerves. Besides, who's gonna get in trouble with? Jerry says, I'm your superior and you needed the money, right? Vic says, yeah, I like the money. Jerry says, but you don't like drugs. This isn't a good scene, Jerry. Jerry leaning forward says, but you like guns, right? Hope that doesn't give you any moral problems. Vic says no. Jerry smirks and says, good, I know a guy who can sell guns we can get. And trust me, that's a lot. Vic hesitant at first. I don't know about that, I can't. Jerry cuts scene. You need money for that sick brother of yours. Vic says, what do I have to do? Jerry, go pick up the money. Guys waiting near the docks. So here you, player, arrives at docks. Camera pans to Phil Cassidy, which is a new character, firing at shooting range. Phil says, you must be Vic. Jerry told me about you. He says, used to be in army, same as you. Vic says, yeah, let's talk about money. Phil says, sure thing, just don't got it on me right now. I'll take you to it. So here we can Phil drive through the city. While driving, Phil says, been having some trouble lately. Cholo boys. Vic said, Cholo boys? Phil says, a Mexican gang trying to take over all the gun running in town. They both arrive at Phil's old place. They arrive, several gang members are seen outside. Vic says, come on, where's the money? Phil, yeah, about that. It's inside, but with those Cholo around, I can't get in. Phil backs away. Phil says, you handle this, I'll keep the truck running. Phil drives off, leaving Vic alone. So here's the mission. Take out Cholo gang outside, enter the building, clear the remaining enemies, retrieve the money, deliver it back to Jerry. So you do that, and then mission passed. So now mission 3. Vic walks into Jerry's office. Jerry says, did anyone ever tell you that you got dumb name? Vic says, no, nobody. Vic, noticing, says, you really need to keep that weed away. Jerry, playing dumb, says, What Vic? Come on, relax, don't worry, my friend. Vic says, look, I'm not an idiot. Jerry smirking. I never called you an idiot. Jerry clearly messing with Vic here. Jerry says, anyway, I need a favor. Vic cuts him off. I need you to collect the pot. Jerry says, fine, I'll grab it from your quarters. You go get Mary for me. She's at Wiseport. Oh, and stop by feet. He's got some gift for you. Vic says, I don't trust you, Jerry. Jerry insists her. That's no way to speak your superior. Vic refers under my bait. Jerry laughs. Great hiding spot. What are you, 15? And hey, tell Mary I love her. Vic heads to Phil's old place. You meet Phil and he hands over a pink car. Phil says, don't worry, it's non-traceable. Vic says, don't worry, I'm getting in way too deep in this. You drive to a Wiseport. On the way, Vic stops and asks a girl about Mary. She says Mary's at the party at Starfish Island and she's heading there too. Girl says, name's Mona. You want anything, just let me know. She hops in. You both head to the party. At the party, Mona says, there, that's Mary. Vic walks up to Mary. Vic says, let's go. But suddenly some guys step in. The guy says, hey, we paid for her. She's not going anywhere. Things escalate quickly. The men attack, but Vic fights back, beats them down and escape with Mary. Vic and Mary rush back to army base. But right at the entrance, an army officer stops them. Officer says, there's weed under your bed. He then notices Mary and immediately judges the situation. That's it. Vic gets kicked out of army. With nowhere else to go, Vic heads back to Phil's old place. This location now becomes your safe house where you can save the game. And that's mission 3. So mission 4. Vic Vance heads over to Phil's place at docks, looking for him. As Vic searches around, things suddenly gets intense. Phil sneaks up from behind and points a gun at him. Vic quickly raises his hands and keeps saying, it's me, Vic Vance, but Phil too out of it to recognize him at first. Vic turns around ready to defend himself, repeating his name. Finally, Phil looks closely and realizes and says, oh, hey Vic. Phil turns out he's drunk and starts rambling about random stuff, something about Bruce. But soon he gets focused and tells Vic, we gotta go, I wanna show you something. So both hop in Phil's truck and head to police station looking for cholos. No luck there. They are not around. Now at hospital, as soon as they arrive, they spot Cholo, but he sees them too and makes a run for it, jumping into car and speeding off. Now it's on you. Drive close to Cholo's car so Phil can take shots and finish him off. Stay close, avoid crashing, and let Phil do the shooting. Once the job is done, head to paint and spray to fix up your damaged vehicle and lose attention. Finally, drive Phil back to his place at docks, drop him off, and mission complete. So this is a short mission so far. Mission 5. So the mission starts with Vic heading over to Phil's place down at docks. As usual, Phil is completely wasted, just laying around and rambling nonsense. He starts talking about some chulo guys who's been messing with his legal shipment at warehouse. In between all the drunk babbling, he also brings up his dad and why he drinks so much. Anyway, things get serious and Vic decides to help him out. So both of them hop into truck and head straight to warehouse to check what's going on. Now as soon as Phil opens the warehouse shutter, boom, a massive explosion goes off. Turns out the Cholo gang has already sabotaged the place. Phil gets knocked down by the blast but luckily survives. Here's the objective. Now it's up to you. You need to use a forklift to pick up the remaining liquor crates one by one carefully and carefully load them onto the back of the truck. It's a bit slow and tricky, but you gotta make sure everything gets loaded safely. Once all the crates are loaded, Phil takes the truck and heads back to his place on his own. And just like that, mission passed. Mission 6. Scene opens at Phil's place at docks. Vic walks in and spot Phil and Jerry sitting together, casually smoking. The mood instantly feels tense. Jerry smirking, well, look who we got here. Vic doesn't respond, just stares, clearly annoyed. Jerry, relax man, no need to get worked up. Jerry leans forward. Jerry, here's how it works now. You work for Phil and Phil works for me. That means you work for me too. Jerry, You better play nice, Vic. You do good work, you get paid. Leans closer, otherwise, who's gonna take care of your sick brother? That hits a nerve. Vic's angry says, F you. Jerry shrugs. What did you expect? I didn't screw you over for fun. I did it to save myself. You would do the same. Vic says, I had a career. Jerry cuts him on, yeah, had. It is what it is. Jerry, anyway, I told Phil about some guns. Big deal if you can get them. He head towards exit and says, Jerry, don't smoke too much, you'll get paranoid. Jerry exits. So here's the mission. Phil grabs his gun. Phil says, come on. We are heading to hotel. Gonna need some backup, and I know just the guys. Head to the hotel entrance. Pick up 2 backup guys to join your crew. Objective: find the truck. Drive around the city, searching for target truck. Once you locate it, pull up close. Phil says, "That's the one. Get us in position." Your crew open fires from the vehicle. Eliminate all the enemies guarding the truck. Phil says, "Nice. I'll take it from here." Phil takes control of truck. Your job now is to protect Phil. Enemies will chase and try to take him out. Phil over radio, keep them off me, Wake. Now shoot down pursuing enemies and vehicles. Stay close and guard the truck at all costs. After that, mission ends. Mission passed. Now here's the mission 7. We arrive at rundown caravan park looking for Marty. Phil sent us to meet. Victor walks up and finds a woman holding a baby. Victor says, "Hey, is Marty around?" Woman says he's not home. Victor says, "You know when he'll be back?" Woman says, "I don't know." Suddenly a truck pulls up. A man jumps out. Victor says, "Are you Marty?" Man, no. He immediately starts yelling at the woman. Marty says, "Why isn't this place cleaned up, Louise?" Marty, "The baby's sick. I've been taking care of him." Marty, "Don't use baby as an excuse, Louise." Victor overhears this and steps in. Victor, "Wait, Louise? I'm friend of Phil." Marty says, "Oh, you're Phil's guy. Why didn't you say so earlier?" Marty says, "Name's Marty J. Williams." Victor, "Yeah, I was a little busy watching you yell at her." Marty laughs it off. "I'm just messing around." Louis awkwardly, "Yeah, he only hits me when I deserve it." That moment says everything. Now Victor says, "Phil say you have some." Marty says, "Yeah, I got something for you. Let's go." They get into the car. Marty says to Louis, "This place better be clean up when I get back." While driving, Marty explains some Cholo gang members are interfering with his business interests and he wants them to deal with. At first location, we reach a shop. Now beat down the Cholo gang members outside. They head inside and take out the rest. After clearing the place, Marty walks in. Marty says to shopkeeper, "Relax, he's with me. This is for your protection for a small fee." Second location, they head to another shop. Marty says, "Pay up for protection." Shopkeeper, "I already paid to Cholos." Marty says, "Funny, I don't see any Cholos protecting you right now." The shopkeeper refuses. Marty says to Victor, "Trash the place." Victor hesitates but does it anyway. Objective is to destroy the shop soon after Cholo shows up again. Objective now to beat them all. After everything is done, Marty says, "You did great. I might have more work for you. See you around." And that's the mission. Mission 8. Vic visits at Marty's place. Vic arrives at Marty's house and spots Louis doing aerobics. Louis says, "So you were in the army?" Vic says, "Yeah, but I screwed up." Louis says, "You and me both." There's a brief understanding between them. Marty walks in, immediately irritated. Marty says to Louis, "Why are you dressed like that?" Louis answers, "I was just doing my aerobics cheese." She storms off as their baby starts crying. Marty angry, "You better watch your mouth." Marty turns to Vic like nothing happened. Marty says, "Hey, what's up? You say you had some work for me." Marty, "Yeah, I got some debts that need paying." Marty yelling at Louis, "I'll screw you if you don't shut that baby up." Louis firing back, "Screw you." Marty, "You better watch your mouth." Louis says, "Screw you, Marty. I'm taking my baby and going to my sister's place." Marty mockingly says, "Good, good." He has the object to take Marty to his lockup. He starts explaining the job. At a lockup, Marty says, "There are some things that need stealing, and I don't think you got the guts to do it. Prove me wrong." So here's the objective. Vic must steal 3 vehicles and deliver them to the lockup. 1 car, another car, and 1 truck. You may need to fight or knock out drivers to take the vehicles. After delivering all vehicles, Vic says, "I don't feel like these thefts you're talking about are legit." Marty says, "Whatever's mine is mine, and whatever I say goes. You better understand that." Mission passed. Mission 9. Scene opens at Marty's trailer park. Camera slowly pans across the rundown yard. Here you can see a grenade. Vic says, "What's with the grenade?" Marty says, "Those damn Cholo boys have been interfering with my repo business. It's time I send them a message." Marty, "I just wanna make sure they hear what I have to say." Mission objective: take the grenades and destroy the Cholo vans before they leave for work. Vic grabs the grenades and heads out. The player tracks down multiple Cholo vans and destroys them before they can escape. Vans are taken out one by one. Cholo gang members fight back, forcing Vic to defend himself while completing the objective. After that, you do that, mission complete. Mission 10. Scene opens at Marty's trailer park. Vic arrives as Marty is already thinking ahead. Marty says, "Business is booming, Vic, but I ain't stopping here. It's time we expand. I got my eyes on that bottle over in Cholo territory." Mission objective: gear up and take over the brothel from Choro gang. Vic heads to Stonewall Jade's. Here you purchase weapon to prepare for upcoming fight. Then later, Vic arrives at brothel area. First target, a yellow Cholo gang car parked outside. Player destroys the car to kick things off. Cholo gang members rush in to defend their turf. Vic enters the building. Close quarter combat begins as remaining gang members attack from inside. Player eliminates all enemies inside the bottle. Now Vic destroys the remaining Cholo assets in the area, securing full control. Mission complete. With Cholos wiped out, the brothel is now under Marty's control. The property becomes now available for purchase. Mission 11. At Marty's trailer park, Vic arrives and notices Marty surrounded by his men, clearly frustrated. Marty says, "Those Cholo punks are crossing the line now." Marty says to Vic, "They've been threatening my girls." Marty says, "I want you to go down there and teach them a lesson." So here's the mission. Rescue the girls from Cholos and bring them back safely. Step 1. Head to the brothel. Vic drives to the brothel area and immediately finds trouble. Cholo gang members are harassing the girls and causing chaos. Step 2. Get a vehicle. Player needs a car with at least 4 seats to carry everyone. So Vic secures a suitable vehicle nearby. Rescue the girls from Cholos and bring them back safely. The girls aren't going down without a fight. They are armed and shooting back at Cholos. Vic assists them, taking out enemies and ensuring their safety. One by one, Vic picks up all 3 girls. With everyone in the car, Vic drives back to brothel. Enemies may still try to stop you on the way. Here all 3 girls are safely returned. Mission passed. Mission 12. Here's scene opens at Louis' place. Vic arrives and finds Louis looking worn out and overwhelmed. Louis says, "Look at me, I'm a mess." Vic calmly says, "No, you're just going through a bad time. Things will get better." Louis looks at Vic, searching for hope. Louis says, "Then show me a way out." Vic pauses and then gives an honest answer. Vic says, "I was in a military, got kicked out. Now I'm working for some prick doing dirty job just to pay for my brother's medical bills. I'm not the one you should be asking for advice." Louis says, "Look at us, what a pair." Vic says, "You wanna hang out? Do something for a change?" Louis says, "Yeah, why not? Phil mentioned some quad bike event going on." Vic says, "Alright, let's go." So here's the mission. Head to trailer park and take part in quad bike race. Vic and Louis arrive at trailer park ready for a change of pace. They hop onto quad bikes and join the race. The player competes in fast-paced race, off-road race, and you win. This mission shifts away from combat, focusing on pure fun and competition. Mission 30. Again at Louis' place. Vic arrives and finds Louis visibly upset. She's crying. Vic concerned says, "Hey, what's wrong?" Louis says, "I'm just tired." Vic says, "Come on, tell me." Louis says, "I left some of my stuff back at Marty's place." Vic says, "Don't worry, we'll go get it." Louis says, "What about Marty?" Vic says, "Don't worry about him." Louis softly says, "Thanks." Here's the mission. Go with Louis to Marty's trailer and retrieve her belongings. Vic and Louis arrive at Marty's trailer park, but something feels off. A group of bikers from quad race are already there and they don't look happy. One of the bikers says, "You shouldn't be showing your faces around here." Vic says, "Back of white trash." Biker says, "Oh yeah, you wanna do this?" A full-on brawl erupts. Vic and Louis must take down all the hostile bikers in the area. Your player engage in close combat, knocking out enemies one by one. But you can also use weapons, like who cares. With the area clear, Louis heads inside the caravan. She finds Marty's wallet and smiles. Louis says, "I'll go shopping. Marty owes me." Now, Vic drives Louis safely back to her place. Louis says, "I had a good time." So that's the mission 13. Mission 14 at Phil's place near docks. Here, Phil is in the middle of conversation with Jerry. Jerry says, Phil, would I ever screw you over? Phil says, you would. Jerry, laughing it off, says, come on, man, I wouldn't do that. Give me a hug. Then two awkwardly hugs. Just then, Vic walks in. Vic sarcastically says, yeah, you'd never screw anyone over, right? Jerry says, oh, look who it is. Vic Vance. Jerry says, I saved Vic. I'll save you too, Phil. Vic says to Phil, what does he want this time? Phil says he wants me to check on some merchandise at warehouse. Says it's nothing. Jerry interrupting says, if you don't trust me, we can tag along too. Jerry starts walking away, turn backs and then says, you owe me, Phil, don't forget that. Jerry leaves. Here Vic says, what was that about? Phil says, I got drunk and told him I didn't trust him and now he cut me out of work. I gotta win his trust back. Here's the mission objective. Take Phil to Jerry's warehouse. Vic drives Phil to the lockup area where the merchandise is supposedly stored. As they arrive, Jerry's men are already there and they are hostile. Jerry's men attacks. Vic and Phil fights back, taking out all the enemies in the area. It becomes clear this was set up. Vic and Phil grab the truck and make a run for it. Enemy vehicles chase them down, but player must drive while fighting off attackers, avoiding destruction. After chase, Vic and Phil make it back to docks. The truth is clear, Jerry can't be trusted. Phil says, that's it, I'm done working with him. Vic frustrated says, you should figure that out earlier. Phil says, I'm laying low for a while. So that's the mission 14. Mission 15. Camera fades at Louis' place. The atmosphere is tense. Louis' sister crying as Vic arrives. Louis' sister says, who are you? Vic says, where's Louis? Louis' sister says, he took her. Vic says, who took her and who are you? She says, I'm Mary Jo, her sister. And you? Vic says, I'm Vic Vance. Mary Jo says, oh Vic, I heard a lot about you from her. Vic says, who took Louis? Mary Jo shaken. Marty took her. He's going to sell her out. So here's the mission. Go to the Marty's place. But as he arrives, he's too late. Marty is already escaping with Louis in his truck. To make things worse, Vic is ambushed by Marty's men. Take down Marty's gang members, survive the ambush, chase down Marty's truck, stop him before he escapes, defeat Marty, rescue Louis. At last, Vic says, everything's gonna be okay for now. Mission 16. Louis turns to Vic and says she's been thinking about what he said earlier, that she and her baby would be better off without Marty, and now she's got a plan. She suggests that Vic should take over Marty's business. At first, Vic shuts this down. He says he's not a gang boss, but Louis pushes back, reminding him that they both need the money. And honestly, she's right. After a moment, Vic finally agrees. So here's the mission objective. Now Vic and Louis head out into the city looking to recruit some guys to build their crew. Soon they reach Marty's loan shark office. At this point, Louis splits off to find more recruits, leaving Vic and his newly gathered crew to handle business. Vic and his men storm the place, taking out Marty's guards. But it doesn't stop there. You need to move around the city and eliminate the remaining member of Marty's gang to fully secure control. Once everything is clear out, Louis returns. She's impressed and says, Vic, you actually pulled it off. But Vic isn't so confident. He admits he has no idea how to run a business like this. Louis reassures him and says, if Marty could do that, so can you. Here, new feature is unlocked, empire building. So this location is now part of growing of your empire. You will see gang member hanging around outside and inside. You can interact with them to start new mission. Complete this mission earns you reputation. Higher reputation equals more money. You'll also receive regular income every day at 16 in game time. Don't forget to notice though, interacting with it lets you upgrade and develop your business further. And that's it for mission 16. Mission 17. This mission starts with Vic waiting around for someone important. His younger brother Lance. While he's waiting, Vic notices a couple nearby holding hands, kissing, a quiet movement that contrasts pretty hard with the chaos he used to. Suddenly Lance shows up out of nowhere and surprises him from behind. Vic gets startled and immediately annoyed. The reunion doesn't go smoothly. Vic starts laying into Lance, blaming him for all the trouble in the past, even bringing up how he got kicked out of the Boy Scouts because of him. Lance tries to brush it off, saying he came all this way and doesn't deserve that kind of treatment. Vic fires back, saying Lance has always dragged him into messes, but Lance insists he changed. After a tense moment, Vic finally gives in, but only barely. He tells Lance he gets one chance. Lance really pulls him into a hug. Now here, two brothers get into car and start driving through the city. But things don't stay calm for long. Out of nowhere, they were intercepted by Cholo gang. Turns out they've been looking for a week after he took down their guys earlier, and now they want revenge. Now the mission kicks in. Lance takes the wheel, and your job is to fight off the Cholo while the car is moving. Enemies will chase you down, and you'll need to take them out quickly before they overwhelm you. During the chase, Lance hits a ramp and launches the car. The landing doesn't go well, the car is wrecked, and both Vic and Lance are forced to get out. Here's the final part. Now it's full on street fight. You have to eliminate all the remaining Cholo gang members. Lance will fight alongside you, but here's the catch. He must survive, so keep an eye on him while dealing with the enemies. Once all the enemies are taken out, you escort Lance to nearby hotel. You drop him off safely and wraps up the mission. And that's mission 17. Mission 18. This mission begins once again at Louis' place. Vic rings the doorbell and Louis answers. But something seriously is wrong. She tells Vic that his brothel is on fire. No time to waste. You jump straight into action. Vic and Louis get into car and rush toward a nearby fire truck. On the way, you'll notice something important. A health bar for girls appears on screen. Health bar hits 0, the mission fails. So you need to grab the fire truck and reach the brothel as quickly as possible. Once you get the fire truck, head straight to the brothel. Now it's time to take control of the hose. You'll need to spray water and pour all the flames around the building. Just when you think it's over, Louis spots someone suspicious nearby. It's Marty's cousin, the guy responsible for setting the fire. You go after him, and once you catch up, you take him out. Mission passed. Mission 19. Again at Louis' place, but this time things are getting serious. Louis tells Vic that welfare services have labeled her as an unfit mother. They are threatening to take her baby away unless she gives the child up willingly. Out of anger and desperation, Louis admits she's already sent some guys to deal with the welfare officer. Vic immediately shuts that down. He tells her that the violence will only make things worse. Then he asks questions, when is this happening? Louis replies, right now. Vic with no hesitation rushes out to stop it. You need to save the welfare officer from Louis' men. As you move through the city, you'll see a health bar for welfare officer. If it drops to 0, mission failed. You have to track down the officer who's being chased and take out all the men Louis sent before they can finish the job. Once you dealt with attackers, the job isn't done yet. Vic doesn't want the situation to escalate further, so instead of harming the officer, you need to warn him off. The way you do that is by damaging his car, just enough to scare him away. Mission passed. Mission 20. This mission begins at Lance Hotel. Vic walks in and catches Lance on the phone talking about something trust. As soon as Lance hangs up, Vic questions him, asking him what was that about. Lance brushes it off, saying it's nothing, but Vic isn't convinced. It definitely didn't sound like nothing. After some back and forth, Lance finally gives a hint, saying Vic will thank him later. Vic heard that before and he's not impressed. Lance explains that he found a way in the American dream. He claims there's a big player who can make them money without doing much work. Vic immediately gets suspicious and asks, this better not be drug. Lance reassures him, no drugs, just trust your brother. The two get in car and Vic asks, who is this big player? Lance reveals his name is Forbes. He tells Vic that Forbes will contact them at the King's Nut Burger Bar and they need to be there by 1:15. Once you arrive, Lance take a call, presumably from Forbes. But before anything happens, anything can progress, a group of armed robbers storms into place. They start threatening civilians, demanding everyone put their hands up. Vic steps in and take out robbers, but things take a turn. When you step outside, the police shows up and they think you were responsible. Now you got a wanted level. You need to escape the police with Lance. Optional tip. On the way, you can stop by paint and spray to change your vehicle color and lose the wanted level more easily. Once you lose the comps, head over to Port Authority building. Here you'll find some guards protecting Forbes' car. Take out the guards, grab the car and make your escape. There's even a ramp nearby that helps you get out quickly. After escaping, Vic steps away from the situation. Lance tells him that Forbes doesn't know Vic and won't trust him yet. Then Lance leaves, hinting that there's more to come. Mission passed. Mission 21. The mission begins at Umberto's house. Vic walks in and asks, "Are you Umberto?" Umberto jokingly replies, "Did somebody order a stripper? Because I don't want a bald one." Clearly annoyed, Vic pulls a gun on him. Umberto quickly backs off and says, "Relax. Yeah, it's me, Umberto Robina." Vic brings up Marty's deal, and Umberto acknowledges it, calling it an unfortunate end. Vic then tries to build a partnership, saying, "You used to work for Marty, can I rely on you?" Umberto agrees, but only if Vic proves himself. Here's the mission objective. Umberto gives Vic a job. Retrieve a package for him. If Vic refuses, there's no deal, no alliance. Vic reluctantly agrees. To make sure everything goes smoothly, Umberto sends one of his men, Juan Gracia Cortez, follow the map to intercept the package, but things don't go as planned. Another guy, Hilberto, grabs it first. Now, get close to Hilberto's vehicle. John will start shooting at him while you drive. Take down and recover the package. Once you secure the package, deliver it back to Umberto. Here cutscene plays. Mission passed. Mission 22. Again at Umberto's place. Umberto is busy awkwardly flirting with a woman who seems more interested in her own work than him. As Vic arrives, Umberto quickly shifts gears and said, "We got a problem. Your boy Jerry is causing all sorts of trouble." The woman interrupts, saying she's a very busy person. Umberto brushes her off and says, "Some men have manly work to do. You stay here and wait for me." Then Umberto and Vic heads out. Umberto gives Vic a clear task. Take back control of the streets from Cholo gang. He sends some of his men along to help you. Drive around the city looking for Cholo members causing chaos. You'll see Havoc meter on screen. Defeat all Cholo before the Havoc meter fills up. Move quickly from one fight to another. Don't waste time or you'll fail the mission. Once all the Cholos are taken out, return to Umberto with his men. Mission passed. Mission 23 at Umberto's place. Umberto is clearly traced, surrounded by his men. Suddenly Vic walks in and asks what's going on. One of the guys explains Alberto, who is Umberto's father, is at wrestling match and some cholos are heading there. Trouble is definitely coming. Vic suggests the obvious. Why don't you guys just go and pick him up? But Umberto refuses. He says he can't send his men. It would dishonor his father. And top of that, he's too shaken to drive himself. So Vic steps up and takes responsibility. Here's the objective. Take Umberto's car, drive to the wrestling arena, pick up Alberto safely. Keep an eye on Alberto's stress bar. Drive carefully to keep his stress low. Avoid the cholos on the road. They'll increase his stress if they spot you. Once you picked him up, it's time to head back. Drop Alberto at cafe before 3:15. Mission passed. Mission 24 at Umberto's place. Umberto is hanging out with his crew, joking around. He asks his men why they don't like balls. One of them awkwardly says it's embarrassing. Umberto fires back, teasing him, saying he doesn't have any. Then he points at Vic, saying he's got plenty. He turns to Vic and asks, "Are you scared of cholos?" Vic calmly replies, "No, none of them." Umberto grins and says, "Then show me you got the balls." Vic hits back with a joke, "I was in army, not in navy." Everyone bursts out laughing. Here Umberto decides it's time to teach the cholos a lesson. He says he'll handle things from here, which basically means not coming along the plan. Vic clears the way at Cholo warehouse. Umberto's men roll in afterwards. Now you head to the warehouse. One of them says, "We need protection while we load this stuff. You like the gift?" Vic responds, "Very tasteful." Cholos will attack. Hold them off until loading is complete. Then get in the van, drive back to Umberto's place. You'll be chased, fight off the cholos while escaping. Final cutscene. Back at Umberto's place, he proudly says, "Today is a good day. The cholos are finished." Cut to cholos discovering the gift, a statue. One of them smashes it with a baseball bat. Boom, it explodes, taking them all out. Umberto turns to Vic and says, "I trust you. You can count on me for anything, like a true friend or a dog." Mission passed. Mission 25. The mission begins at the Lance Hotel. Vic meets Lance and a mysterious man in a sharp white suit. The guy wastes no time and pitches a new plan, one of that promised to make all three of them rich. Vic, cautious as always, asks the obvious question, what's the risk? The man in white, whose name is Forbes by the way, explains that Vic won't be handling any drugs at all. His job is simple, keep the cops busy. Meanwhile, Lance and Forbes will steal a shipment from someone who's already brought it into country. Lance backs him up saying, this isn't trafficking, the drugs are already here. Forbes reassures Vic further, all you have to do is make them think you're carrying it. They can't arrest you for that. Vic isn't convinced, says no, but they can shoot me. Forbes promises he'll be rich and fine. After a moment of hesitation, Vic agrees. As the cutscene ends, the camera lingers just a little too long on Forbes, hinting that something might not be entirely right. The mission starts with all three heading out in a car towards the decoy van. From there, they drive to the warehouse. As they drive, you can spot cops watching from nearby rooftop, already keeping tabs on the operation. Inside the warehouse, Vic switches vehicles. He takes nearly identical van, different in color but repainted to look the same. The perfect decoy. Once outside, the plan goes into action. Vic drives the van through the city, drawing police attention. The cops take the bait and begin chasing him, convinced he is carrying the drugs. The progress bar appears on screen. Your objective is to keep driving and survive the chase until the bar fills up. The longer you stay ahead, the more time Lance and other have to complete the real job. After the progress bar is full, your final task is to lose the cops. Head to paint and spray to remove your wanted level. Once you successfully evade the police, mission passed. Mission 26. Forbes approaches Vic with casual grin. Forbes says, yo, what's popping? Vic says, wow. Forbes says, I say, what's popping? Vic confused, man, what the hell are you talking about? Forbes says, isn't that what you guys say? Vic realizes, oh, that's probably Lance. Anyway, everything's sorted, no trouble. Forbes says, yeah, all good. And speaking of Lance, here's your brother now. As Lance walks in, suddenly Lance pulls out a gun and points it straight at Forbes. Lance says, you're a cop, aren't you? You think you can mess with me? Forbes calmly says, yeah, you're right, I'm a cop. I was gonna tell you, but listen, I need money. I wanna work with you guys. I'm not here to bust you. Lance says, nah, that's not how this goes. I'm the one busting you. Before the Lance can react, Forbes quickly counts the angle, throws punch, bolts out of the area. Forbes escapes in a car. Now it's up to you. Chase him down through the street of Vice City. Ram his vehicle, repeatedly slowing down. As the chase intensifies, Vic notices something unexpected. Vic during chase says, hold up, there's money in the trunk. Now keep ramming Forbes' car until he loses control. Stop him and capture him. Vic and Lance take Forbes to an abandoned apartment. They try to squeeze information out of him, but Forbes stays quiet. Time passes, tension lingers, they wait. Mission 27. Vic arrives at abandoned apartment. Inside he finds both Forbes and Lance. Forbes, clearly under pressure, offers valuable intel. A dealer is arriving downtown later that day. He explains that the dealer is paranoid, insists on one-on-one meeting, and will be carrying both money and cocaine, with no bodyguards. Lance decides to handle the meet personally and tells Vic to provide cover from distance. He instructs Vic to find vantage point and watch over the deal. So here's the objective: reach a vantage point overlooking the deal location. Vic heads to nearby high point and equips binocular to observe the meeting. Through the binocular, Vic watches as Lance meets the dealer. The situation quickly turns bad. The dealer suddenly punches Lance, knocks him unconscious. Before Vic can intervene, the dealer drags Lance away and escapes via a speedboat. Vic rushes to a nearby vehicle and gives chase along the coastline. The pursuit leads to large cargo ship offshore. Vic boards the vessel. Vic fights through armed guards scattered across the ship to locate Lance. After freeing him, Lance regains unconsciousness and he heads towards exit, preparing for extraction at the shore. Before leaving, Vic gathers the scattered package of drugs hidden across the ship. Vic exits the ship and heads to the shore to meet Lance. Mission passed. Mission 28. At the abandoned apartment, Forbes is tied up while Lance paces around going through documents. Lance says, I know there's a major shipment coming in soon. I've been to your place and radio files. Forbes says, yeah, I was gonna tell you about that. The contacts at the White Stallion bars. They'll give you exactly what you need. Vic says, let's check it. We say, let's check it out. They both goes to White Stallion bar. Vic and Lance arrive to find bikers everywhere outside and inside. The atmosphere is tense. One biker says forward and says, you two ain't welcome here, with a warning the attack. Now you fight the waves of biker inside and outside the bar, survive the ambush and clear your way out. Escape and head back to the apartment where Forbes is being held. As you arrive back at the apartment, you spot Forbes escaping on scooter. Vic says he's getting away. Chase Forbes through the streets, take him down before he escapes. But things don't go as planned. During takedown, Forbes is accidentally killed. Lance says, I know there's something big about that shipment Forbes mentioned. Lance walk away. Mission pass. Mission 29 at Lance's room. Lance is on phone talking quietly. Vic walks in. Without hesitation, he grabs the phone and throws it aside. Lance says, "Yo, what's your problem, man?" Vic says, "My problem is gonna get us both killed because you're stupid." Lance says, "Oh, shut up, grow some guts." Vic snaps. He grabs Lance by collar and lifts him up. Vic says, "What did you just say to me, tough guy?" Lance says, "Grow brain." Suddenly, a woman walks in with another man. Vic and Lance talk. "Mom?" Mom says, "Victor, put your brother down." Vic reluctantly lets go. Vic says, "What are you doing here?" Mom says, "I'm cleaning up my act. I'm off the drugs for good." Mom says to Lance, "Now can I get a drink?" Lance says, "And who's that?" Mom, "This is Javier. He's very sweet to me." Lance says, "I'm tired of this. You always coming back and messing up." Mom says, "How can you say that? I raised you." Lance says, "Nah, Aunt Enid raised us, not you." Mom says to Vic, "I'm clean now. Just give me a chance." Vic says, "You can stay with Lance, but I don't want any trouble. I got enough problems already, especially with him." Lance brushes it off. Lance says, "We gotta go. That friend of yours at airport." Vic says, "What friend?" Lance says, "I'll explain on the way. Now drive Lance to the airport before 2015. Vic says, "Alright, who's this friend?" Lance says, "A dealer. He's getting out of business, but he got files on that big shipment." Enter the airport terminal. Note: passing through the metal detector removes all your weapons. You can retrieve them when you exit. Inside, you approach the contact, but you're too late. Dealer says, "Sorry man, first come first serve." Lance says, "Who did he sell it to?" Dealer says, "Some guy over at Terminal C, private jet, private army. Trust me, you don't wanna mess with him." Lance says, "We'll see about that." Now head to the Terminal C, engage and defeat the guards protecting the private jet. After that, biker suddenly arrives and attacks Vic, fights off the biker. Meanwhile, Lance grabs the file and makes his ascent, leaving Vic behind to deal with chaos. Vic takes down all the bikers there. Lance grabs the file and leaves the place. Mission passed. Mission 30 at Lance's hotel room. Vic, frustrated and done with everything. Vic says, "I'm through with this, man. I don't wanna be a drug dealer." Lance says, "This is what we need. I know how we can get our hands on that big shipment." Vic shakes his head. Vic says, "I'm a long way from being good one, but drugs, that's just trouble." Lance says, "Yeah, I get it. That's why we do this once. One big score, then we are out. We can finally give Pete the healthcare he needs." Vic pauses and then nods. Vic says, "Alright, one last time." They both goes to Little Haiti Dogs. Vic and Lance arrive with two other men. In the distance, crates of drugs are being loaded onto two trucks. Lance says, "That's our shipment. Let's move." Eliminate all the guards at the docks, secure the area. As the fight ends, the helicopter appears overhead. Jerry's helicopter is now in the air. Vic takes one truck, Lance takes another. You follow Lance through the city. Keep an eye on your truck's health bar. Enemy cars begin chasing you. Defend your truck from attackers. Take out enemy vehicles before they destroy your cargo. As you approach the bridge, Jerry sweeps in and opens fires from above. Dodge the incoming fire, protect your truck from heavy damage. At the end of the bridge, police unit appears, forcing the helicopter to retreat. But it's not over yet. Police and SWAT unit begin chasing you. Fight them off or evade them while staying close to Lance. Reach the destination safely. Park both trucks inside the garage of large mansion that Lance has mortgaged. Final scene. Lance look at trucks, gets excited. Lance says, "We are gonna be rich." Vic says, "We haven't sold it yet." Mission 31 at Lance's new mansion. Vic is pacing inside mansion, speaks urgently on phone. Lance walking dressed sharply in blue suit. Lance mugging, "How's my suit, huh?" Vic says, "Yeah, looks great. Just give me a minute." Lance shrugs and steps aside. Phone conversation. Vic says, "Jerry, now you know how it feels like to get screwed." Jerry, angry over the phone, says, "Oh yeah, that cook you ripped off belonged to the main better. I was just a middleman. Now we are all on their list." Jerry says, "I'm leaving the state, but before I go, I'm ruining you, your brother, everything." Call ends. Here Vic and Lance walk toward their car. Lance says, "Relax, once we sell the coke, we can pay off the feds and handle the Menace brothers." Lance says, "Listen, I got the buyer. Let's go meet him." Mission objective: go to the mall before 4. Lance says the buyer, some movie director shooting a film at war. They approach the stressed out director. Lance said, "You looking for inspiration? I got everything you need." Director says, "All I need is stuntman. We got to rub before the mall opens." Lance says, "Vic here can handle all your stunts. You and I will talk business." Here's the gameplay. You play as Vic acting as stuntman. Shoot zombie actors to fill the gore meter within 60 seconds. Now in next scene, zombie begins invading a store set. Use a katana to slice them down. Prevent any zombies from entering. After that, Lance returned in excited. Lance says to Vic, "We got the deal. Now take Lance back to his apartment." They walk in and freeze. The place is empty, no drugs, no money. Lance says, "Where's the coke?" Vic says, "If you don't get out of this, I'll screw you myself." Mission passed. Mission 32. At Lance's mansion. Lance sits quietly, looking tense and usually down. Vic notices immediately. Vic says, "What's wrong now?" Lance says, "Nothing, we are fine." Vic says, "Really? Because we don't look fine." Lance says, "I'm telling you, we are." Vic says, "Looks to me like we screwed everything up." Lance says, "I think I sorted thing out." Vic says, "What are you talking about?" Lance says, "The Mendes brother, they don't want us dead anymore. Maybe they want us to hurt a little bit, but not dead." Vic sarcastically says, "Oh great, they just want to hurt us. That's comforting, but what exactly have you gotten us into?" Lance says, "Bro, we cool. We are cool." Suddenly a phone call rings. Lance picks up. His expression changes instantly. Lance panics, says, "Wow." He hangs up and turns to Vijay. Lance says, "We got a problem. The Mendes gang has started attacking Vic's business across the city." Vic's angry said, "This is your idea of sort out?" Lance says, "Stop yelling at me like all of this is my fault." Lance storms out and jumps into car. Your mission objective: go to your businesses and help Lance. Drive to the attack locations. Protect Lance as he fights off the Mendes men. Here you can see Lance's health bar is visible. Do not let it reach zero. Here waves of Mendes gang members attack your properties. Fight alongside Lance and eliminate all the enemies. Keep moving and cover Lance when he's under heavy fire. With the attackers defeated, things finally calm down. Lance says, "This won't be the last time. They'll hit us again." Vic says, "Then we stay ready." Mission passed. Mission 33. In this mission, Vic and Lance find themselves in serious trouble, captured by Mendes brother Mens. Vic and Lance are held at gunpoint when the Mendes brothers walks in. One of the Mendes brother, well, Vance brother, just like us. Mendes brother says, "So here's the deal. I can kill you both right now, or we can work together. Your choice." Says, "Alright, I guess we are working together." Lance quickly jumps in and says, "It was Jerry Martinez. He's the one who ripped us." Mandy's brother says, "Really? Then prove it." Here's the mission objective. Vic and Lance step outside to figure out the next move. Vic says, "How the hell are we gonna prove Martinez was beyond this?" Lance says, "Easy, easy. Martin is turning informant. All we gotta do is catch him with fates. Meet me at Printwork. Head to the police station. There you'll spot Jerry Martinez meeting with the agent. Take a photo of Martinez with agent. Next, follow their car to the port. Stay close but don't get spotted. Take another photo as they board the ship together. After this, you get a 4-star wanted level. Escape the cops and head to Lance's apartment. Go to Printworks to meet Lance. Lance prepares the fake documents using photo. Lance says, "With this force ID, we can make it look official. This should convince the Mendes brother that Martinez set us up." Vic says, "And what if it doesn't?" Lance says, "Then run, and don't come running after me. I'll be halfway to Haiti." Mission passed. Mission 34. At Mandy's mansion, Vic meets with Mandy's brothers to discuss this new partnership. Mandy's brother says, Armando says, "So we are partners now, and yet business is tough. This industry is full of criminals." Vic says, "Well, yeah, it's drug business. It's gonna attract all sorts of people." Armando says, "I like your honesty. It's a very attractive quality." Vic says, "So what do you need me to do?" Armando says, "Head over to Vice Point. Some people there are ripping us off. Take them out and set up shop. We'll use it to distribute our product." Here's the mission objective. Head to Vice Point. You'll find a group of bikers occupying the business location. Eliminate all the bikers at sight. Some bikers will try to escape. Chase them down and take them out before they get away. Mission 35. At Lance's mansion. Vic walks in and notices Lance behaving nervously. Vic says, "What's going on?" Lance says, "Keep your voice down." Shh. Vic immediately says, "Don't you shoo on me." Lance looks around, clearly on edge. Lance says, "This place is bugged. The day is coming for us." Now realizing the danger, both of them step outside to figure out plan. They decide the only way is to stop DA surveillance is to destroy the signal sources. Here's the mission. Prevent DA from gathering evidence by destroying their surveillance antennas. You head to ammunition, purchase a rocket launcher. A evidence meter appears on screen. This shows how much information the DA is collecting on you. The longer you talk, the worse it gets. Now go to nearby police station, mark on the map, climb or reach the rooftops. Use the rocket launcher to destroy the DE antennas. Repeat the process at all marked location. Be quick and efficient to prevent the emitter from filling up. Mission passed. Mission 36. At the Mendes mansion, Vic tries to talk to Diego Mendes, but gets nowhere. The brother just stares, clearly not understanding English. Suddenly, the other brother, Armando, walks in. Armando says, "Ah, my brother. Quite the conversationalist. Today we were discussing philosophy. He's a big fan of Plato." Armando says, "But me, I always prefer Aristotle. Maybe that's why he's happy and I'm always worried." Armando says, "What do you think, Vic?" Vic says, "The world is full of suffering and then you die." Armando says, "See, I knew our minds were alike. That's why I'm giving you this job." Armando says, "There are others smuggling drugs just like us. Go to Ocean Beach and take them out." Here's the mission objective: eliminate rival drug dealers operating in Ocean Beach. Follow the map markers to locate the multiple drug dealers. Take them out one by one. At another location, you'll encounter heavily guarded dealer. Their bodyguard dressed in bikinis may look unusual, but they're armed. Eliminate all resistance. The dealer attempts to escape on quad bike, escorted by bodyguards. Chase them down quickly and take them all out before they get away. You do that, then mission passed. Mission 37. Vic arrives at film studio looking for Rennie Wesselmeyer. Rennie says, "Who's this gorgeous young man?" Vic looks confused, says, "I'm looking for Rennie." With flair, Rennie reveals themselves. Rennie says, "Tada, me." Vic says, "Get straight to business." Vic says, "I heard you need cocaine." Rennie lightens up instantly. Rennie says, "Ah, cocaine, yes." Vic says sarcastically, "Wanna say that any louder?" Rennie shrugs his off. Rennie says, "Oh darling, it's the 80s. Everyone's on cocaine." Vic says, "Whatever you say, Mr. Lady." Rennie smiles confident and says, "I'm little bit of everything." Suddenly a guy rushes in. He says, "The stunt guy quit. He says he doesn't like you touching his butt." Rennie looks devastated, turns to Vic, says, "Please save me." Rennie dramatically drops down to her knees and hugs Vic. Vic says, "So what do you want me to do?" Rennie says, "I just need a driver." They both head outside. Rennie said, "Drive well and I'll bring you more buyers than you could ever use." Rennie then boards a helicopter monitoring Vic. Mission objective: perform stunt driving for Rennie's film while keeping the action exciting. Drive along the marked path shown on the map. Perform stunts like jumps and drifts. Ramp into stunt cars to increase excitement. Keep the action meter as high as possible. Each checkpoint adds extra time to your mission. In the final sequence, hit the ramp, launch the car through a glass window into building. Stick the landing to complete the shoot in style. Mission passed. Mission 38. At the film studio, things are getting eccentric as ever. Rennie is busy with one of their members. Then Vic walks in. Rennie immediately turns to Vic, clearly needing help. Rennie says, "Vic, darling, a friend of mine, Gonzalez, needs assistance. He's moving a lot of cocaine. Protect Gonzalez during the dangerous drug shipment across the water. Follow the map to the meeting point. You'll meet Gonzalez and his crew. Get into helicopter with armed men on both sides. Your job is to provide aerial protection. Follow Gonzalez, who is traveling on board. Keep an eye on his health bar. If it drops to zero, mission fails. Enemy boats will approach. Take them out quickly. Soon after, enemy helicopter joins the attack. Focus fire on helicopter until its health bar is depleted. Destroy it before it deals too much damage. After surviving all attacks, escort the ship safely to the dock garage." Once in a cutscene, Gonzalez says, "I lost many men today. I can't afford to lose more if I want to protect my colonel's interest in future." Vic says, "If you need bodyguards, you could do lot worse for the right price, of course." Gonzalez says, "Maybe, but not now. First, I need to find out who leaked my arrival to those bandits." He walks away, leaving Vic behind. Mission passed. Mission 39. At Mendy's mansion, Armando looks stressed. Vic walks in. Armando says, "Oh, thank God you're here. You're in trouble." Vic says, "What are you talking about?" Armando says, "The police seized some cocaine and Diego refers that it was your." Vic sarcastically says, "Oh wow, that's very thoughtful of him." Armando says, "Unfortunately, we have paperwork linking you to it unless you fix this." Vic says, "And how exactly do I do that?" Armando says, "You steal it back. It's been impounded. Grab it before it reaches the police station." Here's the mission objective: recover the seized cocaine before the police can secure it. Get the helicopter, head to the junkyard, pick up magnet-equipped helicopter, fly to the compound where the seized containers are stored. Use magnet to lift the container, carefully transfer it, drop-off point near the airport. The police are transporting another container by truck. Chase it down, attach the magnet to the moving truck's container, lift it and deliver it to same drop-off point. The Mendy's contact is being chased by bikers. Use the helicopter magnet to lift his car off the ground and get him out of danger. Watch the vehicle's health bar. If it drops zero, you fail the mission. Safely transport the car, drop it off on a rooftop parking lot. Mission passed. Mission 40 at Flame Studio. Vic meets up with Rainy and the guy in a blue shirt named Barry. Rainy introduced the two, and after quick greeting things get serious. Rennie explained that Barry needs favor, and Barry goes on to say that he took 3 million from a guy, but now that deal's gone bad. The guy wants his money back and is threatening to kill Barry's associate if he doesn't pay up. Vic agrees to help but makes it clear he doesn't come cheap. Mission objective: first head to marked location on the map with Barry. Once there, pick up a bulletproof limousine. Drive to the meeting point. As you arrive, a helicopter lands. This is the guy Barry was talking about, but just as he stepped out, things go sideways. The group of thugs suddenly ambush the area and shoot down the helicopter. Chaos breaks out instantly. The man from the helicopter survived, but now it's up to Vic to clear the area, take out all the attacking thugs, and secure the situation. Once the area is clear, Barry starts talking to the man, but during the conversation, Vic realizes it's Phil Collins. Vic tries to acknowledge him, but Barry cuts it short, saying they can do introduction later. He has a new objective. Now you have to escort Phil safely to his hotel. On the way, more enemies will show up in vehicles trying to take you out. Defend the limo and keep driving. Don't let them stop you. After surviving the attacks and reaching the hotel safely, mission passed. Mission 41. The mission begins at golf course, where Vic meets Gonzalez for what it seems like casual round of golf. Gonzalez asks Vic if he's ever played golf before. Vic casually replies that he played a round or two. Gonzalez smirks and says he plays all the time, just not something his wife needs to know. He believes the way a man plays golf says a lot about his character. Gonzalez points out an example nearby. A man is tied up. Apparently, someone Gonzalez trusted, but who betrayed him. According to Gonzalez, he should seen it coming because the guy was serial golfer. With that, Gonzalez challenged Vic to play. If Vic impresses him, they'll talk business. Mission objective: this is a simple golf minigame. You'll see a red bar with smaller green section inside it. The goal is to press the action button when the marker lands in the green zone, not once but twice, to line up a perfect shot. Time your inputs correctly and you'll land a clean hit. After successful shot, Gonzalez is impressed, compliments Vic's performance and says, consider this a down payment for future work. With that, the meeting wraps up. Mission passed. Mission 42. The mission begins at Gonzalez's place, where he pulls Vic something a little more off the books. Gonzalez admits he's running a side business that he needs to stay completely secret. He can't let his boss, the colonel, or even his own men to find out about it. Vic quickly figure it out. Gonzalez is scheming drugs from his boss supply to sell for himself. Gonzalez doesn't deny it after all. He calls it the land of opportunity. Vic makes his stance clear. He doesn't care who Gonzalez is reviewing as long as it's not him. Here's the mission object. Heads to Gonzalez lockup. Get the van loaded with drugs. Once you got it, drive carefully to the deal location in Washington. But a truck suddenly crashes into the van, knocking Vic out cold. As he hits the ground, two guys show up, grabs the van and decide to take it to the party in Starfish Island. When Vic wakes up, everything feels off. The screen becomes blurry with the blue tint. Looks like he inhaled some of the drugs during the crash. Despite that, Vic quickly gets to the phone and calls Gonzalez to explain what happened. Gonzalez is furious, but there's no time to argue. He says he still has a buyer lined up who's about to leave town, so Vic needs to act fast. A new objective: track down the thieves using the map. They've taken the van to the party location. Once you get there, take out the guys who stole the drugs. After dealing with them, recover the van and drive it back to Gonzalez. As Vic returns with drugs, Gonzalez acknowledges job is done but makes it clear their friendship is over. Mission passed. Mission 43. At Flame Studio, Rainy annoyed says, No, this is all wrong. The energy, the emotion, it stayed. The scene is supposed to live, to breathe passion. Vic says, you called me, I'm here, what's the job? Rainy says, you fix my scene, I need speed, danger, perfection. Head to the jet ski, ride out to the starting marker, follow the pink checkpoints across the water, maintain speed and control, keep the shot perfect. After that, reach to the shore, get on the bike, waiting at the checkpoint, keep the momentum going for a final shot, and you do that and then mission passed. Mission 44. Camera fades in, Lance is on the phone, pacing casual. Lance, says, "Yeah, baby, don't worry, I'll take care of it." Vic walks in, giving Lance a suspicious look. Vic says, "Baby, who was that?" Lance says, "Relax, man, just an accountant. He's helping us clean the money, get better rates." Vic says, "And you call your accountant baby?" Lance says, "Hey, I'm a friendly guy." He just slang, "Alright, it ain't like that." Vic says, "Yeah, whatever you say." Lance tone shifts more serious now. "We got bigger problems. Someone's been dipping into our stash, stealing products. The Mendes brothers are getting nervous." Vic says, "Great, just what I need." Lance says, "What's that supposed to mean?" Vic frustrated says, "It's Louis. I thought we had something, but we barely even see each other anymore." Lance says, "Yeah, relationships are messy. Trust me, I know, but right now we got business to handle." J-Dab and pull into quick hug before heading out. Vic says, "So who's eating our stash?" Lance says, "Biker." Vic says, "You don't sound too sure." Lance says, "I'm sure enough, and I'm gonna prove it." Here Vic pilots helicopter across the city. Lance sits outside, so you have to keep helicopter steady, avoid heavy damage, fly low enough for Lance to shoot targets. Here Biker's return fire helicopter takes heavy damage, and then Lance loses balance and falls. Helicopter is about to explode. Vic jumps out just in time. Vic must eliminate all the remaining bikers on foot. After clearing the area, Vic searches for Lance. Vic finds Lance alive. Vic says, "Man, I thought I lost you." Lance says, "Takes more than that to kill me." Vic says, "So where are the drugs?" Lance says, "Gone, man. They probably already sold them." Lance walks off casually as Vic watches frustrated. Mission passed. Mission 45 at Lance mansion. Here Lance is clearly high, laughing to himself. Vic storms in, looking around at the maze. Vic says, "So this is where all the coke's been going." Lance says, "Whoa, Vic, what are you doing here?" Vic says, "You had me running all over the city chasing product, and all this time you've been scheming it for yourself." Lance says, "Look, man, I can explain. Can we talk about this later?" At that moment, Louis walks in. Vic's confused, says, "Louis, what the hell is going on here?" Lance says, "Hey bro, this ain't what it looks like." Louis says, "I just need something to take my mind off things." Vic says, "So you slept with my brother?" Lance and Louis together says, "No." Louis says, "We just get high together." She looks at Vic with frustration. Louis says, "God, Vic, you're so judgmental, like you're some kind of saint." Vic says, "You're a mess." Louis says, "Oh, and you're wonderful, right? A wonderful thieving drug dealer." Vic says, "I was doing it for us." Louis says, "Who are you kidding? You don't care about me." She turns around and walks out. Vic says, "Yeah, well, now I don't." Vic turns to Lance with anger, says, "Thanks a lot, man, really." Lance, "Hey, it's my coke. I'll do whatever I want with it." Lance storms out. Vic rushes after Lance, trying to stop him. Lance jumps into helicopter and takes off. Vic is left behind as chopper lifts into sky. Vic grabs hovercraft, chase Lance helicopter across the water and coastline. Lance begins dumping coke packages mid-air. Follow helicopter's path, collect drop packages. After you collect all, mission passed. Mission 46. The mission begins at Lance's apartment. Vic finds Lance laying on bed, clearly out of it from drug use. Lance casually asks Vic if he's done anything stupid recently. Vic responds sarcastically, saying Lance didn't just stop at stupid, he went way beyond. Suddenly phone rings. Vic answers. It's Louise. She sounds panicked. She says the Martinez men are after her and she's hiding at King's Nut Burger Bar. Before Vic can get more details, she hangs up. Vic turns to Lance for help, but Lance is too drugged to even respond. Realizing he's on his own, Vic heads out to save Louise. Objective: go to King's Nut, clear the area, take out the enemies surrounding Burger Bar. Here you can see Louise is kidnapped. A cutscene shows Louise being forced into car and driven away. Find Louise. 3 enemy vehicles appear on the map. Track them down one by one and eliminate the enemies and check each vehicle to locate Louise. Once you find Louise, get into car she's in. Her health bar will appear. Drive to the hospital quickly. Take Louise to the hospital before her health runs out. Mission passed. Mission 47 at Flame Studio. Phil is talking to Barry about the big concept plan for tonight. Phil says everything's sorted for tonight. Barry says, "Yeah, it's all set. You're gonna blow them away." Phil nervously says, "I'm more worried about someone blowing me away." Meanwhile, the Rainy jumps in, awkwardly flirting with Phil and rambling as usual. Phil, clearly uneasy, turns back to Barry. Phil says, "We are safe, right?" Barry says, "Relax. The best security guy in the town just showed up." Right on cue, Vic walks in. Barry then gives Vic his task: go check the concert hall and make sure everything is secure. Now you head over to concert venue, eliminate all the enemies stationed around the stadium. You must clear every marked location before 17:30. One of the enemy drop a basement keycard. Pick it up to unlock access to the lower level. Head to the basement, you'll discover enemies planting a bomb. Take them all out quickly again before 17:30 when Phil is scheduled to arrive. After clearing the basement, Vic steps outside and speaks to Barry. Vic says, "You might wanna get a bomb disposal team in there." Barry, laughing it off, says, "Yeah, right." Barry walks inside and casually tells Phil to delay rehearsals, completely unaware of how serious the situation actually was. Mission passed. Mission 48. At Diaz's mansion, Vic arrives and meets Ricardo Diaz for first time. Diaz says, "So you're Vic?" Vic says, "And you're Diaz." Diaz sarcastically says, "No, Santa Claus. I heard a lot about you big buddies with the Mendes." Vic says, "I wouldn't exactly call us friends." Diaz, clearly amused, says, "I heard you're not a cheerful guy. Come on, life is amazing. Look at me. Money, drugs, everything." Vic says, "That's great or not, but I don't want to sell drugs. I just don't have a choice right now." Just then, Lance walks in. Diaz says, "Geez, I didn't know your brother was such a bore." Lance says, "Rainy sent me." Diaz says, "Gonzalez thinks he can move product without me. That means he's onto something and I want it. He's hiding something offshore. You boys go get it. Here's the mission objective. Head with Lance to the area near the strip club. Look for Gonzalez's man. Once you spot him, follow him carefully. He'll lead you to the Ferris wheel area. The target escapes on jet ski. Grab the jet ski and continue the chase across the water. The chase leads you to the boat where the drugs are hidden. Take out all the enemies guarding the boat. Get into the boat carrying the drugs. Drive it back safely to Diaz. Mission passed. Mission 49. At Diaz's mansion again. Vic walks in to find Ricardo Diaz and his men testing cocaine. Vic says, "What's going on here?" Diaz says, "I'm playing both sides." Diaz explains his plan. He's handing over 200 kilo of coke, the same stash Vic and Lance stole from Gonzalez, to DEA. In return, he'll receive a shipment of high-grade weapons, not like these toys, real firepower. Diaz says, "Load the rest into truck for Vic and leave a little something for me." Vic doesn't argue and gets in the van and heads south. Here's the mission. Drive the van loaded with drugs to the meeting point. Upon arrival, one of your men is suddenly taken out by sniper. Grab the sniper rifle and take all the enemy snipers, likely Gonzalez men, before the deal goes bad. Once the area is secure, the DE arrives with truck full of weapons. The exchange is completed successfully. Get into the DA truck loaded with guns. Drive it back to Diaz's mansion. On the way back, enemy vehicles will attack. Defend yourself and keep the truck intact until you reach Diaz safely. Mission passed. Mission 50. At Diaz's mansion, the scene opens with Diaz asserting dominance over Gonzalez. Diaz says, "Take those guns back to your colonel. You belong to me now." Vic walks in as Diaz continues. Diaz says, "Any shipment that comes into Vice City goes to me." Diaz says, "Hey Vic, I'm just talking to my new friend here. Explain how I look after my friends as long as they do what they are told." He turned back to Gonzalez. Diaz says, "And you will do as you're told." Gonzalez says yes. Diaz then gives Vic his next job. Escort him to airport, show him what it means to be my friend and what it means to be my enemy. Here's the mission. Escort Gonzalez. Gonzalez drive a truck towards the airport. You pilot a helicopter equipped with mounted gun. Follow the truck and protect it from enemy vehicles attacking along the way. Gonzalez's men begin unloading cargo using forklift. His men block the main entrance. Enemies will attack. Use the helicopter gun to defend the entrance and protect Gonzalez's crew. Another group of enemies attack from a different enemy point. Quickly move and eliminate them before they break through. Some enemy manage to get inside and head straight for the plane. Take them out. Mission passed. Mission 51. Vic and Lance walk into Mendes' place. Armando says, "You're free now, but you must leave town, of course. You'll hand over all your interests to us, and your family won't get here. That's fair." Lance says, "Oh yeah, so you screw us over and call it." Armando says, "I'm fine. You're yelling very distasteful." He says, "We done a lot for you. We kept our end of bargain now, and now you want everything." Armando says, "You came into my city, caused chaos, brought the DEA and police down on us, and now I want you gone. You're lucky you're not dead." Vic says, "I made you a lot money, the money I didn't lose." Armando says, "You're done." Suddenly Mendes' men knock Vic and Lance unconscious with gun butts and bat. Here Vic and Lance wakes up on a remote oil rig. Vic says, "Where are we?" Lance says, "Somewhere bad. I think we outlive our usefulness to Mendes." The guards attack. Vic and Lance play to dodge the gunfire. The bullet hits the pipe. Boom, flames burst out. Guard is caught on fire and dies. Lance is now escort trap on the other side. Here's the objective. The flames are blocking your path, so you need to release pressure from the system. Shoot the valves located around the rig. Keep an eye on the pressure bar. If it fills up, the entire rig explodes. Along the way, take out multiple armed enemies. Watch out for enemies arriving via helicopter. Fight your way across the rig, clear out enemies, and make your way towards lands. Once all the valves are destroyed, reach lands, grab nearby bike, and escape the oil rig before it explodes. Ending cutscene. Vic says, "Now we are at war with Mandy's brother." Lance says, "I got a plan to deal with them. Just give me some time." Mission passed. Mission 52. At Lance mansion. Victor walks in and spot Phil Cassidy with guns. Phil says, "There's gonna be party, so I bought some fireworks." Vic looks confused, suddenly opens the door, and Umberto Robina walks in. The two greet each other briefly. The moment later, Lance comes in. Vic says, "Lance, what's going on?" Lance says, "We are about to get hit by the Mandy's guys, so I brought in some of your old crew to help." Vic says, "You did what?" Lance says, "Did I mess up again?" Vic says, "No, for once you did something right. Let's move." Here's the objective. Defend your business from incoming Mandy's. Vic and Lance get into car. Phil and Umberto roll out separately with their own crew. 3 of your businesses are under attack. Drive Lance to each location. Eliminate all the attacking enemies at each site. Keep an eye on time limit and Lance's health bar. After clearing all location, Lance gets a message. Lance says Phil and Umberto handed their side. They made it. Vic says, "So we actually won." Lance says, "Yeah, the Mendes brothers thought they could take us down. Not today." Vic said, "This isn't over." Lance said, "Then let's take the fight to them. I know a guy who can make that happen." Mission passed. Mission 53. At Lance's place again. Vic walks in. Lance says, "Hey, is Louis still in the hospital?" Vic says, "She'll be out soon." Lance says, "We got a big deal going on today. I need you there." Vic says, "Hold up, why are you asking about Louis?" Lance says, "Martin is called, said he's gonna pay her visit." Vic says, "You're kidding, right?" Lance says, "Relax, the hospital got security, she'll be fine." Vic doesn't buy it and immediately rushes out. Here's the objective. Get to the hospital and protect Louis. At hospital, Vic meets Louis. Vic and Louis together says sorry. They both laugh it off. Vic says, "Let's get out of here. Just you and me. No business, no drama." Suddenly, Vic gets a message from Lance says, "Vic, I'm trapped. The building's on fire. I need a helicopter." Louis says, "See, business can be fun. And hey, there's a helicopter on the roof. Head to the hospital rooftop. Fly with Louis to the burning building. Land on the rooftop and pick up Lance." Lance says, "It was Martinez's men. They set up divide and conquer. They grabbed the stuff and escaped out to sea. Now you chase the enemy and the sea. Use the helicopter to follow the escaping boats. Lance will shoot, but you must keep helicopter steady." Here you can see the balance meter to keep it stable so the Lance can aim. There is also helicopter's health bar. Don't take too much damage. So eliminate all enemies before they escape. And after destroying the enemy, Lance escapes separately on a small boat. You file Louis back safely. Vic says, "I'm sorry you got dragged into all this." Louis smiling says, "It's okay, I'm actually having fun. Hey, it's a great view from up here." They share a quiet moment. Vic says, "I'll call you later. Right now I'm in middle of war." Mission passed. Mission 54. At Flame Studio. Vic walks into the studio and finds Rennie looking distressed. Vic says, "Rennie, what's wrong?" Rennie says, "Diego Mendes wants me dead." Vic says, "Why?" Rennie says, "Because I introduced you to Ricardo Diaz. He says I was disloyal, but not as disloyal as him to timing me with that tramp." Vic says, "Wait, you two were a thing?" Rennie says, "Yes, but I couldn't stand him. He talks too much. That's why I need to see a doctor. Horowitz. I'm going to change again. Vic, please protect me." Rennie rushes up to a hospital. Here's the mission. Stop Mendes' men from discovering Rennie's escape. Enemies begin searching the film studio. Take them out quickly before they realize Rennie has left. You receive a message from Rennie. Says, "Vic, they found me. I'm near the Malibu Club. Go there and rescue Rennie at Malibu Club. Eliminate all the enemies there and get Rennie into your vehicle. Now escort Rennie safely to hospital. Drive Rennie to hospital. Enemy vehicle will chase you along the way. Defend against attacker while keeping Rennie safe." You take Rennie safely to a hospital and then mission passed. Mission 55. At Diaz mansion. Here Lance and Diaz cheers. Lance says, "We'll repair everything we borrow with 25% interest a week, or we work for you." They both laugh and toast. Vic enters the room. Diaz smirking. Ah, we were just talking about you. Vic says, yeah? Diaz says, about you boys repaying the money I lent you. Vic says, what money? Vic turning to Lance says, what's all this about? Lance says, we borrowed some cash from Diaz. Don't worry, we gonna pay him back. Vic says, what have you done now? Lance says, I reinvested it back into business. Lance to Diaz joking, sorry man, my brother gets a little alpha sometimes. Diaz says, I know, that's why I killed mine. Diaz says, but relax, do one thing for me and it's all good for now. Vic says to Lance what's he's talking about. Lance says he wants us to destroy Armando Mendes' bearer bonds. Risky, but I got a plan, trust me. Vic walks towards the main entrance. A contract approaches Vic. A contract says, you seen Lance? Vic says, yeah, what it is? A contract says, that high-tech gear he ordered, it's near the Mendes mansion, ready to go. Vic says, what's it for? Contract says something about bypassing Mendes' security and destroying his bonds. Vic says, alright, I'll handle it. Vic gets into surveillance van. Armando Mendes says, Domestic Boy, where are you? And how did Diego convince me to buy this junk? Camera pans to small cleaning robot, its system overridden. You now control remote Domestic Bot inside the mansion. The signal meter system guides you towards the hidden safe. If you are at the right path, it beeps. Armando randomly orders Spot to clean the areas, complete the task within time limit to avoid suspicion. Locate the safe and input the correct code and open it. Burn all the bearer bonds inside the safe. As the bonds burn, Armando bursts into the room. Armando says, what the hell? He puts out a gun and fires at the robot. Mission passed. Mission 56. At hospital. Here you see Rainey, Phil Collins and Barry are talking. Vic walks in. Rainey says, hey Vic, how do I look? Vic says, transform. Rainey excited says, good, fantastic. I was just telling Barry he should get implants. Everyone laughs. Vic to Phil, so Phil, you ready for the concert? How's everything looking? Phil Collins says, good, unless Barry got me more surprises for me. Barry says, hold on, you got to stop giving me a hard time. Phil says, yeah, you stop having me killed, I'll stop complaining. Barry says to Vic, take care of any trouble. Phil heads out. Alright, see you at the concert, and Rainey, I'll make sure Barry calls you. Rainey says to Vic, darling, can you drive me to the airport? Vic says, sure. Here you escort Rainey safely to the airport. Here attackers try to take you out on the way. Defend the car and reach the airport safely. Rainey says, Vice City is too dangerous for me now. Europe awaits, the adult industry shall be mine. Rainey walks off confidently. Now you have to go to the stadium entrance. There is a heavy security in place. All weapons are confiscated before entry. At the backstage, Vic meets Phil. Phil says, where have you been? Vic says, relax, I'll keep an eye on things. Vic scans the area and spots suspicious activity over the stage. Climb up to the lighting rig area. A group of attackers is trying to cut the rigging, planning to drop it into Phil during the performance. Take out all the enemies on the rig. Phil Collins begins performing live, singing and playing drums. Then eliminate all the remaining attackers around at that area. Keep Phil safe until the concert ends. Concert ends successfully. Barry to Vic says, you know what, I'm paying Giorgio Forelli back 60% interest. It'll cost me a fortune, but what choice do I have? Phil to Vic says, so how was the concert? Vic says, killer. Phil says, good. And hey, now that you finally thinking about my well-being, I could really use a break. Barry says, no, you can't stop. America loves you. Phil says, I already booked a hotel for a week. Barry says, you're kidding. I got tons of concert lineup. You'll make a fortune. Phil says, what about my well-being? The last few days, people have been trying to kill me. Mission 57. At Lance's apartment, Vic walks in and says, where is Louise? Lance says, I don't know. If she ripped us off, I'll rip her head off. Vic says, she's clean, unlike you. Lance says, she's a drug addict and I'm just having fun. Big difference. The door, Mary Jo rushes in panicked. Mary Jo said, they took Louise. They almost took me too, I swear. Both know why she wasn't taken. Vic says, who? Mary Jo says, Mendes man. Vic turns to Lance. Vic says, let's go. Lance hesitates at first. Man, I don't. Vic says, now. Here men sent by Armando Mendes stand waiting there. One of the Mendes guys said Armando got 2 messages. One, leave Vice City. The girl leaves. 2, a rocket slams into Lance's car, destroying it. Lance jumps on the bike and chases the attackers. Follow and protect him. Here you can see Lance's health bar. If it hits 0, mission fails. Enemy cars swamps and attack. Take them out quickly while staying close to Lance. Lance charges into Mendes' mansion. Follow him inside. Clear enemies Here you'll see the first boss fight with Armando Mendes. Armando Mendes appears with flamethrower, so you have to keep distance and deal sustained damage. Eliminate him to proceed. In final cutscene, you see both Lance and Luis lying wounded. Luis says to Vic, "Thank you for caring." She struggles to breathe. Luis says, "Please make sure Mary Jo takes care of her baby." She goes still. Vic's frozen, devastated. Lance, injured, slowly gets up, says, "I know you care about her, but she wasn't right for you." Vic says nothing. He walks out onto the balcony, staring into distance. Mission passed. Mission 58. At Diaz mansion, Vic walks into the mansion and Diaz says, "You ready?" Vic says, "What's going on?" Diaz says, It's time to get revenge for that girl. We take down Mendy's operation, everything they got." Diaz says the army just received a delivery of an attack helicopter. Diego thinks he's untouchable. No one can reach him on the ground. Vic then says, "So you want me to sneak into military base, steal a helicopter and attack from above? Are you serious?" Vic says, "That coke's really doing something to you." Diaz says, "It helps me think, but you might need backup. What about Lance?" Vic says, "No, I got someone better. My friend Phil Cassidy, he's ex-army." Diaz says, "Good, get him. This is it. No more Mandy's, no more problem." Vic arrives at docks, meets Phil Cassidy. Vic says, "I need your help. We are stealing an attack helicopter from Port Baxter." Phil, who is drunk, says, "You need a distraction. I'll give you all the distraction you need. Now ride with Phil in his truck towards the military base." Vic says, "Phil, don't do anything stupid." Phil says, "We are breaking into military base and I'm drunk. How stupid can it get? Don't worry about me, Vic." Phil crashes the truck straight into base. Enter. Phil jumps out and starts causing chaos, drawing all the attention to himself. Now use the distraction to sneak into the base from the rear. Avoid the guards and spotlights, or take them out if needed. Locate the administration building. Enter the building and find control room. Activate the system to open helipad gate. Guard realize the breach and attempts to secure the helicopter. You must reach helipad, eliminate any resistance and steal the attack helicopter in time. Fly the helicopter safely back to Diaz mansion. Vic lands the helicopter, setting up the final assault. Mission passed. Mission 59. Last stand. At Diaz mansion rooftop, a helicopter awaits. Ricardo stands beside it as Vic approaches. Diaz says, "Mendes is downtown. The place is a fortress, but this thing, it'll do the job." Vic says, "Good, because when I'm done, we are done. Lance and I owe you nothing." Diaz smirks, "When you're done, I'll own this town. The American dream. And it's all thanks to you." Vic says, "I'm running around making idiots rich while my family falls apart." Diaz says, "Whatever you say, tough guy." Vic gets into helicopter and takes off. Here's the objective. Fly to the building of Diego Mendes. Use helicopter weapon to destroy the guards. Eliminate enemies. An enemy fires a bazooka hitting your helicopter. The helicopter goes down right onto the building rooftop. Vic emerges safely, now on foot with machine gun. Take out waves of heavily armed guards. Now Jerry Martinez arrives in a helicopter. Martinez says, "Looks like Vic's having fun without me." He orders the pilot to open fire on you from above. At the same time, enemies led by Diego Mendes attacks from inside. Now you fight the enemies inside the building and avoid helicopter gunfire. Destroy the helicopter. Watch its hell bar. Continue pushing towards the rooftop. Final showdown. Rooftop battle. Vic reaches the rooftop. Both Diego and Mendes stand ready. Martinez says to Vic, "The problem with you, Vic, is you tried to play a good guy in bad man's game. I thought you had potential. Turns out you are just like Mendes." The final battle begins. Take out both bosses however you like. A helicopter approaches. Vance arrives. Lance says, "Alright, brother, let's face this punk." Vic says, "It's done. It's over." Lance says, "It's over. We did it, baby." They hug each other. Vic says, "Now things are straight with Diaz. We should lay low. Maybe get out of town for a while." Vic says, "I'm gonna send some money to Pete." Lance says, "Cool, but don't think it's all about you." Vic said, "It's all about us. You, me, Pete, mom, wherever she is." Lance says, "Yeah, but listen, I've been making moves. I got 20 kilos. Vic says, "Are you crazy? Forget it." Lance says, "All we gotta do is sit on it, lay low, then sell it." Vic says, "No, I'm out." Lance says, "Alright, man, your call." They both board the helicopter and fly off. The camera slowly pans to the fallen body of Martinez and Diego Mendes. Mission passed. So that's the final mission of GTA Vice City. If you enjoyed GTA Vice City stories, don't forget to like and subscribe. This took me a lot of effort to make, and your support means a lot. More GTA content coming soon.